The courtroom was so quiet you could hear the smallest movement, like the turning of paper or the shuffle of shoes against the polished floor. Every seat was taken, people standing against the back wall just to catch a glimpse. It felt less like a custody hearing and more like the biggest event in Huntsville. The air was heavy, almost as if the entire city was holding its breath, waiting to see how it all would unfold. This wasn't just about two parents fighting for custody. This was about pride, reputation, and the truth. Everyone in that room knew it. Martell walked in first, chest puffed, head high, and dressed in a sharp suit that screamed confidence. To anyone who didn't know the full story, he looked like a man who had already won. His walk was bold, his smirk unshaken, his energy larger than life. It was the same attitude he carried on television, in interviews, and even in his personal dealings. The message was clear, he was in control. But then came Melody. She walked in without noise, without dramatic flair, without even a hint of nerves. Her hair was perfectly set, her outfit elegant yet simple, and her face unreadable. She didn't smile, didn't frown, just calm, steady, almost icy in her composure. Where Martell was fire, burning hot and unpredictable, Melody was ice, cool and controlled. The contrast between them said everything before a single word was even spoken. For weeks, Martell had been building up this day like it was his victory lap. According to people close to him, he had been telling friends and family that he finally had the evidence to take Melody down. He bragged that the courts would finally see her for who she really was, too busy chasing fame and success to be a present mother. To him, this wasn't just a legal battle. It was a chance to flip the script, to regain power, and to remind everyone that he was still the man in control of the story. But what he didn't know, what he hadn't planned for, was that Melody had been 10 steps ahead the whole time. From the start, it was obvious Martell's team came to fight dirty. They pulled out photos of Melody at events, clips of her on stage performing, red carpet appearances, behind-the-scenes filming moments, and social media posts where she promoted her work. Their entire case leaned on one message, that Melody was distracted, too caught up in her growing fame to be a real mother. The courtroom listened politely, but no one seemed convinced. The arguments didn't sound like facts, they sounded like complaints. Every piece of evidence felt more like a bitter reminder of Martell's resentment rather than proof of neglect. Instead of showing Melody as absent, it only highlighted that she was a woman balancing multiple responsibilities. The more they pressed, the weaker the case looked. Then Melody's team stood up. No theatrics, no emotional outbursts, just calm, steady, undeniable facts. They pulled out school attendance logs signed by Melody herself, emails exchanged between her and teachers, detailed schedules showing how she managed both her work and her children's needs. Neighbors had written statements about seeing Melody with her kids daily, juggling motherhood with grace. The children's guardian even wrote a note confirming Melody's consistency and presence, emphasizing that she was always there when it truly mattered. The energy in the room shifted instantly. You could see it in the way the judge leaned forward, listening closely. You could feel it in the whispers that spread quietly through the packed gallery. This wasn't just damage control. This was a complete dismantling of Martell's entire strategy. And then came the twist. Melody's lawyer pulled out new documents, clean, verified, airtight. Whatever was in those papers, it destroyed the last bit of confidence Martell had left. Witnesses later described his face dropping, not with a dramatic outburst, but like a man who just realized the ground beneath him had crumbled. His swagger was gone, replaced with a stare that seemed fixed on the table in front of him. The judge, calm but sharp, looked directly at Martell's lawyer and asked one simple question: is this really the foundation of your entire argument? The silence that followed was deafening. No one on Martell's side had an answer. Not even an excuse. And that silence spoke louder than anything else in the room. What many expected to be a long, messy back and forth turned into something else entirely. This wasn't a fight. This was Melody walking in with truth in one hand and discipline in the other, while Martell clung desperately to pride and bitterness. When the judge finally gave his decision, it wasn't just in Melody's favor. It was a rebuke. He made it clear that the court was not a weapon for revenge or a stage for personal battles. His words cut deep. "Mr. Holt, the court will not be used as a tool for retaliation." In that moment, the balance shifted. Not only in the courtroom, but in the eyes of everyone watching. Melody wasn't just a mother fighting for her kids. She was a woman standing tall, prepared, and unshakable. Outside the courthouse, the scene was electric. News spread within minutes, and by the time Melody stepped outside, the flashing cameras made it look like a Hollywood premiere. But Melody didn't celebrate. She didn't wave or pose. She simply walked with the same quiet confidence she had carried all day, a look that said everything without needing words. "The truth has already spoken for me." Martell, on the other hand, vanished quickly. No eye contact, no comments, just a hurried walk to his car, head down, silence heavy around him. The same man who had spent weeks boasting about his big win had nothing left to say. Reporters shouted questions, but he gave no response. And that silence said more than any speech ever could. Back online, chaos erupted. Twitter blew up with hashtags like Team Melody, Court Victory, and Huntsville Drama. TikTok was flooded with breakdowns, reenactments, and reactions. People analyzed every detail: the way Melody held her composure, the way Martell's jaw clenched when the evidence was revealed, the moment even the bailiff cracked a faint smile at the judge's cutting words. That one line from the judge, "The court will not be used as a tool for revenge," became an instant meme, a catchphrase that fans printed on shirts and shared as wallpapers. But beneath the jokes and internet noise, people recognized the deeper meaning. This wasn't just about Melody and Martell. It was about what happens when someone tries to use power and pride to crush the truth and fails. Even the cast of Love and Marriage, Huntsville, couldn't keep quiet. Kimmy reportedly told friends she was proud of how Melody handled everything with grace, calling it an example for others. Marceau, known for stirring drama, posted a cryptic tweet: "Some folks need to sit down and stop embarrassing themselves. Period." And, of course, Miss Wanda jumped on Instagram Live, accusing the judge of bias and claiming Melody played the victim card. But her rant only added more fuel to the fire, sparking arguments among fans. People quickly picked sides. While Martell still had a loyal few defending him, the tide was impossible to ignore. Melody had crossed into a new level of respect. She wasn't just a reality star or singer anymore, she was a woman who stood firm when it counted. Her victory wasn't loud, it wasn't flashy, but it was powerful. What made it unforgettable was how she won, not by shouting, not by attacking, but by letting the facts speak for themselves. By refusing to gloat. By making it crystal clear that her children's well-being would always come first. For Martell, the questions only grew louder. Why bring this case at all? Why now? And if his main concern was really the children, why turn the courtroom into a battleground? Many speculated this was just another attempt to control the narrative, another way to drag Melody back into his storm. But if that was his plan, it backfired completely. Because this wasn't just about them anymore. The world saw everything. Martell's loss didn't just happen in that courtroom. It shattered his public image. For someone who built his identity on control, charm, and reputation, the silence afterward was brutal. His former supporters grew quiet. A handful tried to defend him online, but their voices were drowned out by waves of criticism. Behind the scenes, sources say Martell had no idea how bad the backlash would be. He thought he could spin the narrative, just like he had in the past. Maybe give a few interviews, post something vague about being a concerned father, and people would rally behind him again. But this time, the internet wasn't buying it. The energy had shifted. People no longer saw him as the misunderstood ex-husband. They saw him as a man stuck in the past, still trying to punish someone who had already moved on. The biggest blow wasn't legal. It was emotional. He had stepped into that courtroom hoping to prove Melody unfit. Instead, he walked out exposed. And worse, he walked out alone. Melody, meanwhile, didn't need to say much after the ruling. Her silence was its own victory. When fans congratulated her online, she thanked them kindly, but never bragged. When reporters asked for interviews, she declined most of them, choosing instead to focus on her kids, her career, and her peace. She didn't need to rub it in Martell's face. The truth had already done that. Her supporters grew louder, stronger, and more unified. Fan pages began highlighting her motherhood, her businesses, her music. The conversation shifted from defending her to celebrating her. Because what she proved in that courtroom went beyond custody. It was about strength. About grace. About showing that women don't have to scream to be heard. They just have to bring the truth. Even producers of Love and Marriage, Huntsville reportedly scrambled to adjust storylines. The courtroom drama wasn't filmed, but the aftermath had become the season's most important plot. Cameras turned to cast reactions, behind-the-scenes alliances shifting, and whispers about how Martell would recover if he even could. Tension grew within the cast. Some members began quietly distancing themselves from Martell. Others tried to stay neutral. But one thing was clear, the respect Melody commanded after that day was undeniable. For years, people questioned her parenting, her loyalty, her decisions. But now, those same critics were rethinking everything. And at the heart of it, all the children. The court's ruling ensured stability, no more sudden changes, no more battles fought at their expense. The judge made it clear, this wasn't about ego, it was about their well-being. And Melody had proven, time and time again, that her focus never wavered from that truth. Whether Martell learns from this is still a mystery. Some say he's plotting another legal attempt. Others believe this was his final shot. But no matter what he does next, one thing is certain: the power dynamic has shifted for good. Melody isn't just surviving anymore. She's thriving, leading with calm, with clarity, and with proof that when you walk into a fight with truth on your side, you don't need to shout. You don't even need to look back.